Jack and the Beanstalk, retold and illustrated by Stephen Kellogg. There was once upon a time a poor woman who had an only son named Jack and a cow named Milky White, and all they had to live on was the milk the cow gave every morning, which they carried to the market and sold. But one morning, Milky White gave no milk, and they didn't know what to do. "Cheer up, Mom. I'll go and get some work somewhere," said Jack. "We've tried that before and nobody would take you," cried his mother. "We must sell Milky White and with the money start shop or something." On his way to market, Jack met a funny-looking old man. "Well, good morning, Jack," said he. "Good morning to you," said Jack, and wondered how the man knew his name. "Can you tell me how many beans make 5?" said the man. "2 in each hand and 1 in your mouth," said Jack, sharp as a needle. "Right," said the man. "And as you are such a bright lad, I don't mind doing a swap with you. Your cow for these beans." "No, thank you," said Jack. "Ah, but these are magical beans," said the man. "If you plant them tonight, by morning they grow right up to the sky." "Really?" said Jack. "Yes, and if it doesn't turn out to be true, you can have your cow back." "Back already, Jack?" said his mother. "Tell me how much you got for Milky White." "You'll never guess, Mother." "Could it be 5, 10, 15? No," she cried. "It can't be 20. I knew you couldn't guess. What do you say to these magic beans?" "What?" said Jack's mother. "I can't believe you gave away my Milky White, the best milker in the parish, for beans? Off to bed with you, and as far as your precious beans, here they go out the window." So Jack went upstairs to his little room in the attic, and sad and sorry he was, to be sure, as much for his mother's sake as for the loss of his supper. At last he dropped off to sleep. When Jack woke up, he saw that the beans had sprung up into a big beanstalk that went up and up and up till it reached the sky. So the old man spoke the truth after all. Jack gave a jump onto the beanstalk, and he climbed, 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 till at last he reached the sky. Jack walked along, and he walked along, and he walked along, till he came to a great big tall house, and on the doorstep was a great big tall woman. "Good morning, ma'am," said Jack. "Could you be so kind as to give me some breakfast?" "It's breakfast you want, is it?" said the great big tall woman. "It's breakfast you'll be if you don't move on. My husband is an ogre, and there's nothing he likes better than boys on toast." "Oh, please, ma'am," cried Jack. "I've had nothing to eat since yesterday morning, really and truly. I may as well be put on toast." Well, the ogre's wife was not half so bad after all. She took Jack into the kitchen and gave him some bread and cheese. When all of a sudden, thump, 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 the whole house began to tremble with the noise of someone coming. "Goodness gracious me," said the ogre's wife. "Come along quick." And she bundled Jack into the oven just as the ogre came in. Oh, he was a big one, to be sure. "Oh," he said, "what's this I smell? Fee, fi, fo, fum. I smell the blood of an Englishman." "Nonsense, dear," said his wife. "You're dreaming. Or perhaps you smelled a little boy from last night's dinner. Here you go. Now have a wash and tidy up, and by the time you come back, breakfast will be ready." Well, the ogre had his breakfast, and after that he went to a big chest and took out a couple of bags of gold, and down he sat and counted. At last his head began to nod, and he began to snore till the whole house shook again. Then Jack crept out of the oven, grabbed a bag of gold, and was off before you could say Jack Robinson. When Jack came to the beanstalk, he threw down the gold, which of course fell into the mother's garden. Then Jack climbed down. "Well, Mother," he said, "wasn't I right about the beans? They really are magical." So they lived off of the bag of gold for some time, but at last they came to the end of it, and Jack made up his mind to try his luck once more up at the top of the beanstalk. One fine morning he rose up early and jumped onto the beanstalk, and he climbed and he climbed and he climbed, and he walked and he walked and he walked, till at last he came to the great big tall house he had seen before. There, sure enough, standing on the doorstep, was the great big tall woman. "Away, my boy," said the big tall woman, "or else my husband will eat you. Wait, aren't you the youngster who came here once before? Do you know that my husband is missing his bags of gold?" "That's strange, ma'am," said Jack. "I dare say I could tell you something about that, but I'm so hungry I can't speak till I've had something to eat." Well, the big tall woman was so curious that she took him in again. All happened as it did before. Thump, thump, thump. They heard the ogre's footsteps, and his wife hid Jack away in the oven. Fee, fi, fo, fum. After breakfast, the ogre said, "Wife, bring me the hen that lays the golden eggs." So she brought it, and the ogre said, "Lay," and it laid an egg all of gold. Soon the ogre began to nod his head and to snore till the house shook. Then Jack tiptoed out of the oven, nabbed the golden hen, and ran home. But this time the hen gave a cackle that woke the ogre, and just as Jack got out of the house, he heard him roaring, "Wife, wife, what have you done with my golden hen?" When Jack got home, he showed his mother the wonderful hen and said, "Lay," and it laid golden eggs every time. Well, it wasn't very long before Jack decided once again to try his luck up there at the top of the beanstalk. This time, he knew better than to go straight to the ogre's house. When the big, tall woman came out with a pail, he crept into the house and got into the bread box. He hadn't been there long when he heard thump, 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 as before, and in came the ogre and his wife. "Fee, fi, fo, fum, I smell him, wife, I smell him." "Do you, my dearie?" said the ogre's wife. "Well, if it's the little boy that stole your gold and the hen, then he's sure to have gotten into the oven." They both rushed to the oven, but Jack wasn't there, and the ogre's wife said, "There you are again with your fee, fi, fo, fum. Why, of course, it's the boy you had for dinner last night. How forgetful I am and how careless you are not to know the difference between what is cooked and what isn't."
Well, I could have sworn,"
muttered the ogre, and he searched the larder and the cupboards and everything, only luckily he didn't think to check the bread box. After his breakfast was over, the ogre called out,
"Wife, bring me my golden harp."
So she brought it, and he said,
"Sing."
and the golden harp sang most beautifully. And it went on singing until the ogre fell asleep and began to snore like thunder. Then Jack lifted the lid very quietly and crept like a mouse on hands and knees till he came to the table, and up he crawled and took the golden harp. But the harp called out, "Master! Master!" and the ogre woke up. Jack ran as fast as he could, and the ogre came rushing after. When the ogre saw Jack climbing down for dear life, he swung himself onto the beanstalk, which shook with his weight. Down climbed Jack, and after him climbed the ogre. Jack called out, "Mother, Mother, bring me the axe!" Jack's mother rushed out with the axe in her hand, and Jack gave a chop to the beanstalk, cutting it in two. The ogre fell down and broke his crown, and the beanstalk came tumbling after. What with showing the golden harp and selling the golden eggs, Jack and his mother became very rich, and Jack married a great princess, and they lived happily ever after.